Hello and welcome to GA Flying. Today we'll be testing out the new Duke version, the 2024 native one, and we will be doing it in a very special place, in this case in La Paz, the highest capital of the world in Bolivia, and in this case also like in a payware scenery for this airport here that I will show you. Okay, so I guess we can start with a short showcase of this scenery. Let me just turn on the camera for you. Not this one, here. Okay, showcase. Don't follow. And let's just do a short flight, because I think this airport is pretty fascinating. Actually, the whole city is fascinating, and I would also talk about it, but just to show you some stuff. So an old 737. Okay, the British Aerospace 146, or maybe like the newer version. Actually, I'm waiting for the 146 to appear in 2024, because I also really like to fly it. So who knows, maybe we will use this airport here. There we have some like Herculeses, right? As far as I know, like Milvis is working on them, so maybe also a possibility. Let me just come closer. Pretty good models here, almost as good as the one from Milvis. That is actually in early access, okay, so it doesn't need to look perfect now, I think, but I just hope that they will improve it, right? So you can see some pretty interesting models. The main building is actually pretty good, but as far as I know, there is like one downside when it comes to this livery. It is that those gateways don't work. I haven't tested it myself, but I have seen it in the reviews that like they don't work with GSX. But as far as I know, the developer is kind of blaming Asobo, right? But they also said that they will try to improve it, so we will see. So the main building is pretty nice. But it's like not only about the buildings, it's more about the place. I was always like fascinated by the Andes, so the Andes Mountains, right? The ones in South America, because it's pretty much like a gigantic plateau that is high above, and there is like lots and lots of secrets, old places, sacred places. So it's kind of like a world separate from the normal world below, right? And it's also pretty interesting when it comes to flying, because it's so high. We need like a lot of power and need to watch out for different things. And here the Turbine Duke, which is like totally overpowered for no reason at all, is perfect, right? Because we can use all of this additional power. Okay, so let me just turn off this camera. And let's just go to the normal view. Okay, so pretty nice looking plane. I think one of the better ones. I really like this livery. I've played around with some custom liveries, but in the end, one of the standard ones, this one, I like the most. Also, after it was like converted to 2024, many of those old liveries no longer work, right? So currently there is like a smaller selection of those, but this should change pretty quickly. Like a lot of people love those planes, so it shouldn't be a problem. I have prepared for you, if I can find it, yeah, the changelog, right, for this newest version. So obviously we have all of those new MS2024 items, okay, so we will see it in a minute. Then we have headphone simulation, which like especially in this plane is very important because it's really loud inside, okay, so it's great that they have done it. One thing that doesn't seem to work for me is like being able to adjust the headphone effect, right? The intensity of the effect with the scroll wheel. I don't fully understand how it's supposed to work, and I've also seen like videos from other YouTubers where they also struggled with it. So maybe it's obvious, but I haven't found it out. Maybe we will do during this flight. Okay. So here, just for you, maybe you will see something that is interesting, like for you. Okay, so one thing that was interesting for me is that it's finally you can hear rain inside of the cockpit, right, which was missing before. And just for you, you can obviously like stop the video, right? This is pretty much it, okay? So not much new functions, but a lot of like small adjustments and like the critical headphone simulation in this one. Okay, so let us go back to our plane. Okay, and we can take off the covers now. There is also one on the static port behind, but it disappears with this one, so maybe I can show you the one with the static port. Okay, so it's missing in many other planes, so here you have it. Just make sure that I don't miss anything. In general, as you probably know, there are like two types of this plane, right? There's the Turbine Duke, right? So the turboprop one, and like the normal Duke, which is normally aspirated, and actually a third one, right? So I think it's called the Grand Duke, which is like turbo. It's like normally a normal piston engine, but with turbo, right? So I've chosen this one. And I'm kind of regretting it because like the engine in this one is like really easy to operate. And when I'm looking at videos from the piston one, it's like very nuanced, right? So maybe someday, but it's pretty expensive. It's like around $50, I think. So maybe I will just wait with the purchase. But maybe someday I will also grab the piston one, right? Okay, so let's just open the door. Maybe before we start with everything, let me just show you the details of our flight today. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, so we are starting with in La Paz, right? And we will be flying over the famous Lake Titicaca. There is like a lot of interesting stuff that I will tell you about, but this is like not a guided tour, right? It's just like some small information pieces that I think are interesting, but we'll concentrate on the plane. And then we will land here in maybe Juliaca. I haven't looked it up, sadly, the pronunciation, but I was also landing here before. So when it comes to the whole area, as I said, I'm fascinated by it because it's just like a gigantic, very high plateau above like the rest pretty much of the continent, and there is a lot of cool stuff. One very interesting thing is also like a desert here, the Atacama Desert, which is also one of the most unique places in the world. Like there's almost no rainfall, but the moisture comes from fog, and it's very, very otherworldly. So this is also something that I can recommend. So in general, when I bought the Duke in 2020, right, I was mostly flying here just to make use of these overpowered engines, because here it's not only high, but also in many places pretty hot, right? So you need very strong engines and a lot of power. Actually, in the beginning, I was planning to not go here, right, but to go here to Cusco. So this is the place where like this famous Sacred Valley starts. So here you will have all of those tourists, and it's not only interested because of it, but also because the airport is in a very interesting place. We won't fly there today, but I wanted to show you like a picture from my flights in 2020. So the approach is just insane over those mountains, and it's beautiful. You can see the 2023 is here, so I have no idea how it looks in 2024. So maybe in future we will do a flight there, right? But for today, just a shorter flight. Okay, so let's see if everything is fine, looks fine. Okay, so we can start with the plane. There is nothing to click here, you just have to press Shift-C, right? Okay, and we can start. I was just flying it, so I hope I will remember it, but you never know. Can I just close it like this? Yes, very nice. Okay, so the most important fact about this black square plane is that the table works here, okay? I always appreciate it after the Starship, right? Where it doesn't work. And it's kind of like a classic turboprop in most, when it comes to most things, but I will show you all of the details. Let me just make sure that we have left nothing outside. Okay, you can also double check here because the chocks will be here, right? And the rest of the stuff. And with this, I think you can start. We should be on, okay, which is the standard setting. In general, there is no state saving here. State saving is only for some cosmetics, right? For some small adjustments, but none of those critical switches will be saved, right? So you don't need to fear that something will be wrong when you're starting the plane, okay? So let's start with the battery. Let me make sure I have the parking brake, it's on, okay? So here we have like the battery power, 25 for battery 1, 25 for battery 2, okay? So we can go to both, they seem okay. It's a black square plane, so failures are possible and I have them on. So I will be paying attention to all of the breakers. They seem to be okay. I actually had a pretty like old state in 2020, but here I started with a fresh one to make sure that I will like take advantage of all of the improvements, right? Okay. So here, beacon. Okay, so we do have the battery, we do have the beacon. Let's start with right ignition. Okay. Okay, and here, starter on. And we are looking at NG, right? We need 15%, but it's recommended to wait till full, right? And this is also something that I'm always wondering in like turboprops. They give you like a minimum, but they still always recommend to wait till full. So I'm just wondering who would choose the minimum, right? If it's just like a second difference. And according to what they say, it results in like lower temperatures, like waiting longer, right? And less wear for the engine. So who would decide to do it like 1 second earlier? I don't know. There is only one step for the condition levers, so there is no like ground idle and flight idle, right? Okay, seems to be fine. When this goes to around, no here, NG goes to around 50%, we can turn off the starter, okay? And we want the generator, okay? And we can see it should be around 28, and we can already see the load on the right generator, okay? Okay, let me just make sure that everything is fine here, that I have not missed anything, and it should be fine. Okay, so now we also don't need the ignition anymore. Okay, so the middle setting is ignition off, and we will repeat the same for the left side. Okay, so ignition on, starter on, and we are looking at NG. Here we will get a cabin altitude warning, right? Because the cabin is already at 12,000 feet just by being on the ground. Okay. So let's monitor the ITT. It's fine. Didn't go to the limit. It can cross this first limit for a couple of seconds, right? But now it's nice and cold. Okay, it's over 50, so we can get rid of the starter. Okay, let's wait for it to stabilize. And now we can turn on the generator and we can see the load on the generator. So this is fine. I also don't need the ignition anymore. Okay, so let's get some navigation lights, right? And avionics master and the main inverter. Okay, and everything should wake up. See 4 degrees inside, so we will like warm it up in a second. So many people kind of wonder why you cannot click on the glass here, because in the piston version those needles can get blocked, right? And then you need to click around to like unblock them, right? So from what I have seen in this like the height here, from what I can see, I could see in those like official videos, it's not in the turboprop because it's not needed. They don't get stuck in the turboprop because of like the differences in the construction, right? So this is why it's not supported in this version. So we will go up to around 16,000. Okay, let's make sure we can heat up, okay, because it's pretty cold. Pressurization to around, I would say around 60,000, 16,000, because we will be hand flying a little bit, so I might cross it. Okay, I can see it's already pretty loud for you, so I will just tone it down a little bit. Okay, let's prepare for taxi here. The pitch trim is needed for the autopilot, right, which is here, and it's also pretty basic. It's pretty much very similar to the one in the A2A Aerostar, if you have seen like my video with it. Okay, the trim is okay, it's in the green. So let me see. Here for taxi, it's recommended to use ice deflect, which is pretty much the inertial separator, right? So for people that don't know, let me just show you on the engine. So if there will be any FOD, so foreign object debris, right, stuff that can go into our engine, then we should use this one, right, the inertial separator, and it will block the direct way into the engine. So like heavier debris will get like removed here. Okay, so I can show you how it works, and you can see this one slowly closes. If you are not flying like a lot of turboprops, this is like super useful and fascinating, right? Okay, is it closed now? Still not. Okay, now it's closed. And if there would be any FOD, it would be also shown here, like it's being removed. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay. So this key, don't use it. It's the baggage door here. It will just open the baggage door in the front, right? So once you're inside, you most of the time don't want it to open, right? The oil doors are nothing special in this one, but they are opened for takeoff and landing. So according to the list, you're doing it like before the takeoff, but not when like warming up the plane, right? So what is some other stuff? Wing pumps are pretty much like the auxiliary pumps that you know. Aux pumps, to be honest, I'm not sure, because like the normal checklists don't really seem to use them, but I would need to double check, right? Let me just confirm. Yeah, it's very cold. It's a cold morning in La Paz, right? Okay, so this seems fine, this seems fine. We do have load here, and this is pretty much how we can start. And we can make it a little bit hotter, right? That's saying Army warming up. Yeah, we are at 10 degrees. So for American viewers, here you can see Fahrenheit, right? And let me just double check. So cabin altitude should be like this, because we are already starting high, right? Oil door will be for takeoff, right? And pitot also for takeoff. Okay, so it seems like we are pretty much ready. Let me just set the barrel here. So, okay, flight planner. Okay, SLLP. Okay, 1038. Ooh. Okay, 1038. Okay, so it's actually 13,000 feet. Interesting, because like when I was reading about the city, they told me it was 12, so I corrected myself to 12, but I was remembering that it's 13. Okay, and I think it's because the airport is even higher than the rest of the city, and this is also something that we will see. Let me just see what the curse will be. 308. The autopilot will work even without adjusting it, from what I could see, but I still like to set it up. So 308 is somewhere here, I think. Yeah, and this message disappeared, because this message was saying me to change the curse to this curse. So in general, it's a pretty old plane, right, that was retrofitted with GPS. So as far as I remember, at least, I was trying it a couple of times, it's not moving the HSI for you, right, the GPS, okay? That saying again, when I was flying it in 2020, so most of the flights with it, I was only using radio navigation, right? So it's pretty much the second or third flight that I'm doing with GPS. In this case, we could also use radio navigation. Let me just show you, because we also have a VR here. So I guess we can tune it up, 115.5, okay? Can I move it now? Okay. Okay, so how do I use this one? Like this. 115. Okay. And we should have the VR with the distance that we have to fly. Okay, very nice, very nice. Everything seems fine. We can prepare the flaps. There are only like 3 settings, so we will go for like the takeoff setting. So the second one, it's in transit. Okay, and it's fine. Let's check the steering surfaces. Okay, because it is a black square planes, everything is possible. Okay, seems fine. I mean, it should be fine. Okay, let me just take a look around. I don't know how loud it will be, so let me just tone it down just to be safe. Yeah. Very loud. So what you could hear was around like 70% of the volume, pretty much. Okay. And I think I'm talking a lot, so I don't remember the checklist then, but it seems like everything is fine. Okay, let me see if we can warm up. Yeah, we're at 16 degrees inside temperature. Let me take a look at the batteries, because they can also overheat here as a failure, right? But they are fine. It's this low here. I mean, it's pretty cold, right? There is a beta, and I guess if we just do this, we will be in beta range. It's always like kind of a little bit strange. I don't know. I can't get used to the beta in the current iteration of like black square planes. But it should be fine. Let me just find the right place here on this axis. Because like the lowest setting, like on my axis, is pretty much like 0 thrust, right? Then you are entering beta, and then you are entering like the flight range. Okay. Okay, pretty hilly. In the normal one, the standard scenery, right? Not the paver one. It's even more hilly than on this custom one. Okay, some nice classic airplanes here, right? I think we need a little bit more power for this one. Let me check the weather again. Okay, so it's 020, pretty weak wind. And we will also do like around the city, because I want to show you the scenery, because I do think it's like amazing. So you will see it. Obviously, like in a flight simulator, right, it always depends on the light outside, because like in some lighting conditions everything looks great, and in other ones not so much. Now you can see a lot of detail. But it's like for sure not like one of those top airports, right, with all of this amazing detail. I would say it's one of like the more average ones, although the main building is really looking good. And I'm just enjoying the atmosphere here. Okay, let me take a look outside. We can cross here, so let's go. Actually have some taxi charts here. I was assuming they will not be needed because like last time it wasn't a problem, but now I'm wondering. Okay, so via Charlie and then Alpha from what I can see. Okay, so if we go via Alpha, we will go from runway 10. And if we go via Bravo, we will go from runway 28. Maybe let's do runway 10. We will have to go back a little bit, but it's closer to the wind. Plus you will get like a full view of the city. Okay. Outside view. Okay, and we can slowly set everything up. So let's set up the weather radar. Right. It is a little bit twitchy on the wheels, but maybe it's just like a thing with my steering hardware, right? Okay. Okay, so here we have the whole short line, so I will just sum up everything that I'm doing before taking off. Let's hope we will be able to hold here. Okay, with this slope down, right? Okay, so pitot heat and static heat, right? And here we have interesting lights. I done the landing lights, but here beacon and recognition lights, right? And then strobe and nav lights, so down. Okay, now the oil doors go on because they are only like for the takeoff, right? Wing pumps, generators, okay. Ignitions we turn on in like in strong rain, for example, like in other planes, right? If we are afraid that rain or snow or whatever would like extinguish the fire in the engines, right? Okay, so let me do a last check. I guess I want panel lights because it's kind of dark still. And we should be ready. They do recommend to turn off the air conditioning, right, for the start to have more power. So this is something that we will do. It's pretty warm already inside. Okay, so let me just do it. Here, to off. Okay. And the radar to on. And you can see nothing is left here that would be yellow or red, but we can also check it because it's a black square plane, right? So it's better to be sure. Okay, breakers, everything fine. Okay, the altitude warning was also extinguished, so I guess like we have a higher like cabin altitude now. Okay, seems fine. Okay, so we can start. I mean, not start, but roll like to the starting position. It might seem like we are really overpowered, this is a really long runway and we are a small plane, but at this height it sometimes takes like a lot of time to start. And here we also have only like 4 knots kind of a headwind, right? So it will not help us much with the takeoff. They do use beta because the slope seems to be continuing here. I hope I'm using the right one, yeah. Okay, I guess we can accelerate a little bit. Yeah, the beta sounds are really nice. I do like them. Okay. Last check to see if like nothing is suddenly breaking. Okay, let me just get some outside view. Yeah, like this runway is going on forever. Seriously. Okay. Yeah, the first time I was using it, I was like amazed that it's taking such a long time to rotate, right? We can also talk about this like speedometer here, right? If I can. So the white one is full flaps right here. Let me just make sure. And this triangle here is pretty good because this will be for approach flaps and for gear down, right? And it's also active, so you can learn your true speed, like by checking what the temperature is during the cruise, right? And what the altitude is that you are at, or the pressure altitude. Do I want to go to the unending runway? Okay, let me just check. Should be runway here. Yeah, this checks out. Okay, and I think we can turn. We need a lot of runway, but not that much. You can see there is like a lot of like heavy aircraft starting here, so we are not that heavy. Okay, turn. Let's go up. Okay. Let me make sure that I will be in the middle here. Okay. Okay, so here everything that we need is on. This is on. We have the doors. This is fine. We are full propellers. Condition levers forward. Pressurization is on. All is fine. No errors. Let's hope for the best then. Okay. The clouds are being so low here. I guess like MSFS is not designed like for those heights. Okay. Okay. So let me just check the weather again, just to make sure. So 020 is actually from here. So kind of a left wind, but like very very weak. So shouldn't be a problem. Wasn't it 040 when I checked it before? I don't know. Okay, so guys, turboprops, so like always, we'll be looking for not going over this limit and not going over this limit, right? And in black square planes, there is this like torque bloom effect. So even if you set it to the limit, it can move up and cross the threshold, right? So you need to watch out. And this is like super powerful plane, and I'm almost at maximum like thrust lever, and still we are not really accelerating, like you can see. And it's a pretty cold day, right? If it would be hot, it would be even worse. As you can see, like somebody that was drunk was like baiting the center line here. Whoops. Okay, and let's just go up. Okay, positive right, gear up. And we are slowly getting faster. Okay. Okay, let me just try outside view. I just love this one opening up, right? Let me just make sure we are not climbing too much. Okay. Yeah, this really like looks unreal. Okay. Let me just trim. I'm still hand flying to make sure we will not dive. Okay. And you can see the different levels, right? Even inside of the city. I just don't know. For me, like places like this are like super fascinating. Although for like people from Bolivia, it's probably boring, right? Because you're getting used to everything. Okay. Yeah, and we are already at 16,000 feet, but still, let me just show you some more outside views. It's amazing, and like those rivers, maybe frozen rivers, I'm not sure, going down here. Okay, guys, but let's do some flying now, okay? So the altitude alert still here. So what is stuff that we don't need? We don't need the oil doors, we don't need the inertial separator, and this will raise the power of the engine, so we need to watch out for torque. Here you can see it's raising. I guess I can even make it a little bit higher. So we are already at the limit, right? Okay. So this is fine, this is locked down. There is no like propeller sync, right? And there is no auto feather, so the stuff that you normally get is not needed here. So there is less effort needed to fly it. Okay, and the pumps can go to off. If we will have like a second, I will read up on this one, because I was reading it lately, and I just know that they recommend to turn on wing pumps before the landing, so they need to be turned off, right? Just to be sure, just to not lie to you how to use them, right? I will double check. Okay. And we are going back. Let's just fly over the airport, right? We can even go down a little bit. Let me pull down the power. And 13,000 feet. I mean, it's crazy to live here every day, right? I would probably need like supplementary oxygen during the first days. But there are like normal international flights here, right? Actually, Bolivia has two capitals, so this is just one of those two. But I think it really makes an impression. Okay. So like I said, today probably some hand flying, right? Because there is some interesting terrain here. It's also kind of cool. Just make sure we are fine here. Okay. And this is great. Like it suddenly drops down here. And like La Paz seems to like mean peace, and so from what I know, it's because like there was like a small revolution here, or like a small war, right? And after the ending of it, they have called the city like this one. Although the full name is like Saint Mary of La Paz, I think, or something like this. So there is a lot of like history here, and also obviously like before the Europeans came, all of those were like important cities and like towns for the Inca people. And this is also why there are like so many sacred places here. Okay, so now we can go up. Let me just try to trim it down. Is it? Yeah, kind of ish. Okay, so we can go out again. Let me just make sure the volume is fine. Yeah, those like colorful rooftops always look great. Okay. Yeah, we are kind of oscillating around 16,000. And also when I was like flying here before, also in 2020, there was a lot of like adjusting this cabin altitude, right, needed. Because there's just so many things where you want to like dive down or like go up above some mountains, so it's hard to be prepared. Obviously, like normally this plane is flown like every other plane, so you set a cruise altitude and you're using it, right? But here, just for fun, we can just fly freely. I can also show you like the back of the plane. So for this, maybe let's use the autopilot. Make sure that the pitch trim is on, right? Okay, let's go to nav and let's hold altitude. Okay, and it should follow this one nicely. You can see it's showing us that it's cold because auto heat was off, right? So 4 degrees again. Okay, so let's just warm it up. And one thing is that this plane in many situations has not enough power, like to heat it up with this setting. So then you need to also pull those here, right? And they will enable more warm or like hot air to flow into the system. Okay, this seems fine, this seems fine. We should have this one, DME. Do we? Interesting. It was actually working with this one. So let me use this one. So 115.5. Okay. 115.5. Okay, so we have the distance here. Interesting. Was it working for a second? Or am I getting crazy? No. Okay. So either way, maybe it's a thing with this VR. I don't know. I was setting it up before and it was like working great. So hard to say. You also have NDB navigation here, and you also have this like unique AirNav instrument that allows you to create like virtual VORs. And I was also using it in the past when flying with radio navigation with this one. It's not as precise as I wanted it to be. I used it to locate like a smaller airport in a storm. So it kind of brought me to the airport, but not on the radial, on the virtual radial that I was creating, right? So maybe I need to train more the usage of it. I was using it yesterday. I'm just wondering why it's not working. Let me just... It's normal DME equipment, like in other planes. I must have missed something. Okay, so maybe I will figure it out. Should just work, right? Okay, so we are kind of in cruise, so we can reduce it to 2000, the RPM. It will be also, the volume will also go down, right? Less noise for you guys. As this is a turboprop, we don't touch the condition levers, right? Okay, let's make sure that they will be kind of synchronized. Okay, yeah, no, kind of. Okay. Okay, let's look at the engine parameters. Everything is in the green. This seems fine. We can get rid of the landing lights. Okay. And we will be flying over like the first part of the Lake Titicaca. But before I will start talking about it, right? Let me just show you the passenger cabin. Okay. So some nice views. There is not much to click. Those you can click. And I just love those buttons because they feel like very tactile. There's like a small delay, and you can also like almost feel the button moving in the casing. So this must have taken a lot of time to like design it like this one. So this is one of the best points in the plane, like how the buttons feel. This one and this one for the light here. They both have this like amazing effect. Okay, so let me go back. Maybe here. Okay, some great mountains, a small town. Okay, and the best part, the table for longer flights, right? Just enjoying the view. Now here's no table, okay? And let's not open the door. Yes, I think Black Square should come back to doing tables. Study level tables, right? Okay, so Titicaca, the largest lake in South America. It's not the highest lake, but they say it's the highest navigable lake, so which means that kind of where like boat traffic is like taking place, as you can see here. That's saying, according to Wikipedia, this is also not fully true, right? But it's still amazing because it's just like gigantic, and it's at those like 12,000 feet, right? So like a whole different world in the sky, pretty much. And also there were also warships here. So from what I remember, there was like a torpedo boat from Chile, and this was also like relevant to many wars that were being fought here, right? So also pretty interesting. And obviously it was not easy to bring the ships here. So at least for some of the British like river barges, I guess, that were used here, they had to totally disassemble them, bring them back up, and assemble them here on the plateau, which is also like crazy. Okay, some other facts that might be interesting. So there is like a lot of islands, right? Some of them are sacred. There are like some native communities here that, for example, don't use any technology, right? And it's also possible to like book vacation on those islands if you just want to chill out, I guess, and throw away your mobile phone. And one also interesting fact is that there is like a native tribe here that are called the Urus or Uros, depending on the translation, and they are like building artificial floating islands from grass or hay or like some kind of like local plant matter, and they are so big that they also fit buildings on them. Maybe I will be able to show you something. So this is, for example, like in one of those Uru or Uros islands, right? So you can see this is pretty much the island here, floating, totally artificial, and they are building like homes on it. So from what I could read in the beginning, they were like keeping themselves to kind of near to the center, but then there was like some storms that have destroyed many of them, and nowadays they are like closer to the shores, right? Yeah, so there is a YouTuber, I guess he's called like MSFS Flight Plans or something, and I can really recommend him. He's doing those like guided tour flights, some of amazing places, right? So for us, we will concentrate more on the plane, because this is my job and my area. But if you are interested in all of the places, the history and so on, I really enjoy like watching his videos, so I can also recommend them. Once again, let me see if it's not too loud. Okay, shouldn't be. And as can be seen, the new version of the Duke, I'm still working on the pronunciation, is working like, I don't see any problems. Although on the MSFS forums, the official ones, the Microsoft ones, I have seen people reporting like some problems with it. I don't know, for me it just works. And this is actually like also a problem for me as a YouTuber, right? Because I would like to help people solving their problems if I'm doing a video about a plane. But for me, most of the time, like, everything works. It's very hard for me to try to help others, right? If the problem is not appearing for me. Okay. Well, now we have it, and now we have lost it. Okay, so it was working correctly. Oh, overspeed. Too much talking, not enough aviating. Okay, so let's just pull it down. So we can see, as soon as, like, in this case, it's ADF. No, it's RMI. I think this one's called RMI. Has caught the signal, right? We got all of this data. Okay, so it's not just me getting crazy. It's like I told you, right? This should work, and it was working. I would just assume that the distance here was just because there is a database in the GPS. So despite not having the signal, right, it was just knowing the distance to the source. Okay, and this would make sense. Okay, so another check, because black square plane and my paranoia, right? It's fine. Let's test this one, the smoke detector, because there is also a failure. Okay, this is fine, nice and warm. We have instrument air. Okay, everything is fine. There is no visible moisture, because normally you would also turn on the windshield heat, right? You can see it working. Okay, nice. So let me maybe take this second, or like a couple of minutes, to check this checklist, because I did promise you to explain how this works. Okay, after starting, let me just see inverter, blah. Okay, run up, parking brake, wing pumps. Wing pumps on for the run up. Okay. Okay, so they stay on, okay, before takeoff. Wing pumps on, okay, takeoff. Still no change. Wing pumps on, okay, climb. Okay, still no change. No change. No change. No change. Okay. And for the landing, wing pumps on. Yeah, so this is as much as I remembered, right? That I suspect that you need them on in the beginning, but then I think somewhere in the cruise, you are supposed to know to turn them off, right? And then for the landing, you are turning them back on, okay? Okay. So we have them off for cruise. Seems fine. I guess I was right. Okay, so let's take a view to the side. Actually, from what I could read, the water level is going down because like the temperatures goes up, and also like some other things happen that I didn't fully understand. And also sadly because of like the cities on the edges of the lake getting like bigger, there's also a bigger problem with the pollution of this one. Okay, so one of those nice islands. Here we are far away. Okay, can I open this one? No, sadly. Ooh, okay, so I didn't remember that this is a thing. Nice that it works. Let me just go back here. We can add a little bit throttle, just not too much, so we don't overspeed again. Let me just play around with the brightness. Oops. Okay, and let's check out the weather for our destination airport then. Okay, so it is Sierra Papa Juliet Lima. Okay. Boop. Sierra Papa Juliet Lima. Okay. Okay, so Barrow is very close to what we have here. Yeah, just one difference. A very weak wind, only 3 knots. And actually from the direction that we are coming to, right? So we will have a nice headwind, so we can just fly directly in, which is great. When it comes to the approaches, there is almost none. Okay, so let me just show you. Okay, so this is the airport, right? And we are pretty much coming from here, so we don't even need to go over the VOR, right? Turn, so we will just go straight in. As you can see, there is only this one approach, so I think we will just do like a visual one if there will be no problem with the weather. Okay, and let me just check the taxi. Nice long one, and then to the left via Alpha, right? And only 3 stands. Yeah, so almost like a sea here. Let me just take a look at one of those islands. Yeah, so from what I could read, right, the Incas were also like pretty militant, and they have also like gained control of many of those towns here. So it's not like all of those people living here were Incas, right? They were also like occupying land here and waging war. Okay, guys, so I can see the distance is still pretty high. So now that I know how to cut my videos, okay, a new skill learned, I think I will just cut to the moment where we will like start the approach, right? So I will see you in a couple of seconds for you and a couple of minutes for me. See you. Bye bye. Okay, guys, so welcome back for the approach. We are already on course 2907. I have changed to radio navigation just to come from the exactly correct side, right, without needing the whole approach. And you can see we need to be at around 16,000 feet, 11 miles from the threshold. So this is something that we will try to do, okay? Other stuff, I didn't show you how this one works, so how you can calculate the true speed, right? So you need to figure out how cold it is. So in our case, it's close to 0 degrees Celsius. It's this inside one, right? And here you can see temp Celsius, right? And then you need to know how high you are. So you're at 16,000 feet. So 16 needs to be close to 0, right? This is exactly at 0. This is a little bit colder, okay? Oh no, this is actually a little bit hotter. So, okay. So this side, right? Because the minus sign is here. And you can see that our true speed is 240, right? And that's saying if we are flying with the GPS, we have a better option. Here we can see just the ground speed, right? Which is even better. Okay, 11 miles out, we need to start descending, so we can see it here. We are at 21 miles out, right? So we can start to slowly prepare, so we don't mess anything up. Let me just see if we can already see something. I don't know, I don't see anything. Okay, so let us see here. Approach, seatbelts secure. Okay, there is no seatbelt sign, but the table needs to go. Sorry. Okay, fuel selectors are to on. Okay, this is fine. Fuel imbalance. Here, no fuel imbalance. Okay, recognition lights are on, down. Pitot heat, less than 4 degrees. I guess there is some haze. We have it on. Okay, windshield heat off. We have it off. Propeller heat off. We have it off. Cabin temp mode. We need the full power. So let them freeze, right? And ignition goes to auto. Okay, ice deflectors as required. Yeah, why not? Okay, so inertia separators. And flaps to approach, I think it's a little bit too early for that, right? So let's wait till we are closer. Can I see the runway? I can see something. Okay. This is also always a problem with MSFS, right? So for example, in X-plane, the airport would be already visible, right? But here it just needs to load. Now that's saying in X-plane, if you don't have like this photogrammetry, no, it's not called ortho photos, right? Or ortho, then like the ground is very simplified, right? So it's easier to see things. Okay, so how far away are we? 13 miles. Okay, so we can move down and start flaps. We need to be under this triangle. Okay, so we are flaps 1. Okay, let me just close this one, and we will slowly start to descend. Okay, so ATT, and then this one down. And we can see it here descending. And actually we are losing a lot of speed, so let me just add more speed. Okay. So we are descending fast. Okay. Oh, I think, yeah, this will block me. Okay, now I remember. It was the same yesterday. Okay, so I want to go down to 12,000 feet. Okay, let's make it 10, and now ATT and down. Okay, let's make sure the speed will be fine. Now I can see the runway. We are coming in via a VOR, which is not as precise as ILS, so the needed curves will not be, well, perfect, right? Okay, so at 6 miles out, we should be at 13,200, so I guess we can just set it up here. Okay, so 13,200 at 6 miles out, so we are at 8. So we might need to make it a little bit faster. Okay, nice. Let me just read the next one, landing. Okay, wing pumps on, so we can do it already. Propellers to full RPM. Okay, we have them. Landing gear, autopilot disconnect. Okay, so this one I know how to do. So we are at 6 and are, well, almost at 40,200. Okay, so we leveled off, and now we have to go down around... It's too fast to read the table, okay, so let me just get this straight. So if we will be going down with 120 knots, then it needs to be 600 down, so we're going down too much. Okay. In this case, I think we can just disconnect. Okay, so we are already in full flaps range, right? And this is the gear horn. Yes, please. I also want to have gear. Okay, so it's supposed to be like a very weak wind, right? Let me also turn on the recorder. Let's use this one. Okay, and we can close it. And let's just not die to 4 reds. Okay, nice. Okay, so obviously like there is no glide slope because we are only using the VOR. Oh, windy. Okay, let me just scrap a little bit. Oi. Okay. Okay, so some nice sounds while we are decelerating. And I think it was supposed to be to the left, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we will get the yellow lines here. Okay, let's just decelerate. Okay, and let's just vacate our runway. Okay, and there should be like 3 parking places here. As far as I remember, I cannot move the view higher up. Okay, so this should be fine. Okay, but before we go like here to the holding area, let's just get rid of some of the stuff. So no recognition lights, just a beacon, no strobe, just enough lights. We don't need the pitot heat. We will turn off the radar. Transponder to standby. Okay, this is already on off. Is it very cold? No, it's fine. Okay, so we can even check if we have forgot anything. After landing, ignition off. Okay, ignition goes to off. All doors closed. Okay, they are closed. Ice deflectors as required. So now we can close them because we will be parking in a second. Are the flaps up? Yes, the flaps are up. Okay. Cabin verify 0. It's kind of not 0 because we are very, very high. But still, let's dump the pressure. Okay. Weather radar is on off. Lights as desired. We only want the beacon because the taxi is also not needed. Okay. And the nav lights can also go to off. Ice protection is off. Cabin temp as desired. Fine. Okay, and this one once on the stand. Okay, we'll just move. And we can close those ones. Okay, nice. Parking brake. Okay, and let's not do the shutdown list, right? But let's just take a look at our recording. Okay, here you can see our landing information, right? So we touched down at 85 with like a small pitch, which I think is okay for this plane. Bank was 0, despite me like desperately trying to like land on the right side, right, of the runway. Wind direction, okay, so very weak wind, which is strange because I was thinking like there was like a blow that has like thrown me up. Maybe that's just me. And then pretty smooth, but we did use like a lot of the runway designed for like much larger planes. So there is nothing to be proud of in this case. Okay, but let's not talk too much. Let's just show you the replay then. Okay, so how does it work? So I don't want to record anymore. I have control, okay. Outside view, and let's just see what we have done here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's do passenger view. Okay. Totally not getting sick because of all of those corrections. Yeah, I mean, this is not perfect, but like for an area that was not like custom corrected, I mean, it's doing a great job. Okay, guys. And with this, we can finish this one up. So I do really recommend this whole area. The airport, let me just see if you can hear me. Yeah. So the airport is also pretty cool. And the plane, I mean, it works without a problem. It's finally native. So I can totally recommend it if you are looking like for a good, very strong turboprop, right? With all of those failures that Black Square is providing. Let me just make sure. No breakers popped? No. Okay. So either way, thank you very much for watching and see you in future videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.